So I don't know if this video is going to cover things in the way that I want it to. I've never watched this person before, but they did SEO well. I'll give them that. So the title of this one, PlayStation 5, new Sony confirms PS6 is coming. PS6 release timeline, Wolverine and Intergalactic. Quite the title on that one. Nailed the SEO on it. This is from TCMFG Games Official. And basically the reason why we're watching this video is because I want to talk about PlayStation 6. Because last week we got some interesting information. It was kind of like Friday, I think this information came out, and it's about what PlayStation is working on next. And it's completely opposite of Xbox. So I'm hoping he covers that to a certain extent. But again, as per usual, if he doesn't cover what I want to talk about, I'm just going to talk about it anyway.
So Sony is officially focused on the PlayStation 6. We're going to cover that here today, and there are multiple updates I also wanted to cover from
Also, Kev, we did finish Mind's Eye. It wasn't great.
The PlayStation meeting, including the launch of Wolverine and Intergalactic, Sony's PC strategy, and new PlayStation studios potentially.
Talk about what
and those are
about.
Stories we're going to cover today. And if you could hit that like
it sounds like he's going to cover the exact thing that I want to talk about.
And as always, it's very much appreciated. First, do you game on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5?
PC.
Sony has recently confirmed that there are more people playing on PlayStation 5 now compared to the PlayStation 4, which took a while, but now we're here, so I'm curious where you guys currently game. So comment below if
you didn't say it, but it's 30% of players who are playing PlayStation are currently on PlayStation 4. So that's still a lot. And now we're like a year out of PlayStation 6. So what the hell happens with that?
Game on PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5? Let me know down in the comments below. Now, diving into the first story of the video, multiple updates from Sony I wanted to cover from the recent PlayStation meeting. So there are three things that I wanted to focus on here. First up is Sony's PC strategy. Reading from Push Square, in a recent Sony business interview, SIE president and CEO Hideki Nishino and Studio Business Group CEO Herman Hulst explained the approach to expanding PlayStation's reach. We continue to look for new and innovative ways to broaden our reach and bring our content and service to the players, and says Nishino.
So what they're talking about here is specifically the way that they bring PlayStation games to PC. We're not going to be getting PlayStation games on Xbox consoles. However, Xbox has a way around that. We'll get to that.
The value of the PlayStation console is that it's still the best place to play, and it's growing its reach in even broader ways. Hulst elaborates, talking about how the company is looking to grow its audience on other platforms while retaining the value and draw of its first-party software. It's important to realize that we're really thoughtful about bringing our franchises off console to reach new audiences, and that we're taking a very measured and deliberate approach in doing that, he says, particularly on the single-player side. Our tentpole titles, they're such a...
So that's Sony. That statement right there, that little sentence, is Sony retracting itself from the live service thing that it committed 2 years ago, because they've failed miserably at that, and they're going to fail even harder when it comes to Marathon. So that's the step back there. But what he's saying here is incredibly important.
Point of differentiation for the PlayStation console. They're the real showcases of the performance and quality of the hardware, so we want to make sure that players get the best experience from these titles. We're very thoughtful about how and if we bring these titles to other platforms.
PC.
So this all sounds like Sony will continue to do what they're already doing to make sure the console is valuable.
So here's what's going on here. Between the two games, and I've talked about this a lot on the Weekly Reload, between the two, like Xbox versus PlayStation, Xbox is doing this thing where they're just like, boom, here's our game. It's on Game Pass. You can play it anywhere. You can play it on PlayStation. You can play it on PC. You can play it on Game Pass. It's everywhere. Just play our games. PlayStation is doing the thing where they are like, it comes out first on PlayStation. It'll play best on PlayStation. And then it'll come out a month, 6 months, a year later on PC. But it does not come out on Xbox. So I don't think he's going to say this in the video, so I'll just say it now. What Xbox is doing is their new consoles are just PCs. So their new handheld, just a PC, which means if PlayStation is releasing their games on PC, they're on the new Xbox. So smart.
For players, which means probably delayed launches to their titles for other platforms like PC. For me, what I'm curious about is how long is this delay time going forward? Is it shorter or longer. That's what I'm...
So the delay time that he means is the amount of time that a game is launched on PlayStation to the amount of time that it comes out on PC. Like I said, is that a month? Is that 6 months? Is that a year? It's been different for different games, but it appears as though they are sticking with first on PlayStation. That's not changing. So it's the opposite of what Xbox has done.
Curious to see. I guess we'll find out with Ghost of Yotei as one of the first or next titles from PlayStation Studios. We'll see how that goes. Next up is Wolverine and Intergalactic releases. So this was interesting to see highlighted on Sony's annual tentpole releases PowerPoint.
So Summer Games Fest, they were the two games that I was looking for out of Sony, Wolverine and Intergalactic. Intergalactic's Naughty Dog's game. Wolverine is like the new Spider-Man, but with Wolverine. No information about either of them until this.
They pointed out that they want to release at least one big title every year, which is something we've heard from them before. So something like a Ghost of Yotei or God of War, those type of big titles. They showcase in their image both Intergalactic and Wolverine as upcoming titles in the same bar. Now, we believe that Wolverine is a 2026 title and Intergalactic is probably a 2027 title.
Agreed.
The interesting thing, though, is everywhere else on that PowerPoint where they have two titles on the same bar, those titles released that year together. Now, I could be digging too deep on that, but I wonder if Intergalactic is targeting 2026. It's interesting also because it seems like Sony doesn't see Sorrows by Housemarque as a huge title, which I guess makes sense since Returnal doesn't didn't sell like the rest of their big franchises, as we know. But let's see how next year goes. I would assume we'd hear more at the September event later this year, probably a reveal of a re-review.
So we have basically Gamescom in August, and then I think the next Sony event is September, like you said.
Of Wolverine, and if Intergalactic is coming out next year, I guess we could hear more then as well. And finally, I wanted to cover PlayStation Studios. So this one was also interesting and has been pointed out by multiple people. Sony showcased their PlayStation Studios on a PowerPoint. On there, we see Team LFG working on Project Gummy Bear, as we know. Dark Outlaw Games, which is run by Jason Blundell, Call of Duty veteran.
Oh, yes.
And what do we see besides Team LFG? Bungie. Now, this is interesting because Bungie, since their purchase, was not considered a PlayStation first-party studio. They were their own studio under Sony, I believe. There were reports...
we all think that Sony is trying to get more of a market cap on Bungie. That's why they're trying to push out their senior leadership, which can Sony do better? Probably, but I don't think you can launch a first-party game as a live service. I just don't think you can do it. Like, for example, if Call of Duty just launched on PlayStation or just launched on Xbox and then came out on PC and then came out on PlayStation, it just wouldn't work. I don't think live service games work like that.
That if Bungie failed to meet financial targets, they'd be absorbed into PlayStation Studios, and it's looking like that might have happened, potentially. We'll see. It's just nice also to see Dark Outlaw Games and Team LFG listed out there now in the open and not just some unnamed studios in these different cities. But now, let's talk about PlayStation 6, and if you're enjoying the video so far, hit that subscribe button and join our growing community on our way to 150,000 subscribers.
Is he going to talk about Marathon?
And now diving into the second and final story of the video, Sony is officially focused on PlayStation 6. Reading from PlayStation Universe, Hideki Nishino, president and CEO of Sony Interactive Entertainment, has touched base on the future of PlayStation hardware during a business segment meeting. And while he was not in position to talk about the PlayStation 6 just yet, he made it clear that there's still demand from players for traditional hardware. So this is what he said.
So that's them committing to doing not what Xbox is doing, to being like, we are going to put out the next big console. They didn't really say anything about handhelds or anything like that, but they're like, we're working on the PlayStation 6 is essentially what they're saying.
Cloud streaming is progressing well from a technical standpoint, as we have demonstrated with our offerings, but end-to-end network stability is not in our control, and the higher cost per playtime compared to the traditional console model remains a challenge. Cloud gaming is increasingly providing an additional option for players to access content, but our belief is that the majority of players continue to want to experience gaming through local execution execution without dependency on network
100%
conditions.
I
And
agree with that.
PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro have validated this thesis, I believe. We now have a large ecosystem of highly engaged players across both the PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 generations, so naturally, therefore, there's a huge interest in our next generation console strategy. While we cannot share further details at this stage, the future of the platform is top of mind. We are committed to exploring a new and enhanced way for players to engage with our content and services. So while this is nothing in terms of actual information in regards to the PlayStation 6, Sony is clearly eyeing what's next. We know that behind the scenes they've been shifting over to the next generation, the PlayStation 6, but now it seems like they're getting more open about mentioning like that's where we're going next. It's coming. It's on the way.
Yeah, so I think the reason why they're talking about this now is specifically because of the announcements that Xbox has made. Like Xbox is fully committed to this like play anywhere, cloud gaming, handheld. We're going to have a console, but the console is basically going to be a PC. They haven't said that outright, but we all know it. They have made these commitments and they are clearly pushing in a different direction now than PlayStation. They basically just conceded the console race and the hardware race to PlayStation. And they're like, we're going to be the play anywhere. We're going to be our games are everywhere. And I like that model. I am just super curious in the next 5 years, which one wins out. Because I think if we look at the Sony state of play compared to the Xbox Direct, one of them crushes the other. I just like you gotta agree with that.
With reports that the first PlayStation 6 chip fabrication is happening later this year, Sony's clearly gearing up for the next generation of their platform, especially since next year they're dropping like strictly PlayStation 4 support for the PlayStation Plus in terms of adding new games. They'll add PS4, PS5 games that are on both platforms, but strictly PlayStation 4 games, they're not going to add anymore in PlayStation 6, which is what they did with the PlayStation 3 a year before the PlayStation 5 launched in 2019.
That's a good point. That's a really
so
good
there's
point.
a possibility that we'll get our first set of official information on the PlayStation 6 sometime next year if Sony does intend on launching this thing.
Yeah, we're gonna get information probably. I could see both Xbox and PlayStation saying something around Christmas, but the difference is Xbox is going to be hyping up their handheld, so they might like hype up handheld and be like, but wait, there's more. We're working on Xbox 720
in late 2027. This is pretty much what happened with the PlayStation 5 as well in 2019 when we got that Mark Cerny Wired article. So it looks like Sony's clearly following the same or similar formula that they had with the PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5 transition over here for PlayStation 5 to PlayStation 6. Things are kind of falling into place. Next year could be very interesting for the PlayStation 6. New game releases, of course, on the PlayStation 5 and even the PlayStation handheld. But you guys let me know if you're excited to hear more on the PlayStation 6 next year or not. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you guys did enjoy this video, please hit that like button as it always helps, and subscribe if you're new.
So what do I think is going to happen here? I think we're going to get the Xbox handheld this Christmas, and then next year, Summer Games Fest, around that time, we get announcements as to what's coming next. I think 2026 Christmas, we get the new Xbox. I don't think we get 2026 PlayStation 6. I would be pretty shocked. I think the new Xbox is going to come out a year before PlayStation 6. And again, I think their focus is going to be on basically being a PC that has a different operating system that is similar to the handheld, that plugs into your TV, and you can play your Steam games, you can play your Game Pass games, you can play your all of your different things on that PC, which I think is a huge move. I think that if a new Xbox console comes out and you can play your Steam games on that console, but you can't play your Steam games on PlayStation, there's going to be a bunch of PC players who want a console in their bedroom to lay in bed. Or the other thing too is you can get the Xbox handheld and plug it into your TV and play in bed as well. So I think that direction is super smart. But at the same time, PlayStation is doing their complete own thing where they're like, this is our hardware, our games are going to be first on here, we have the best first party games. And based off of what I've seen lately, they've not had the best first party games. Look at Marathon, look at Concord, look at all this stuff. I'm worried for PlayStation, but they're sticking to their guns. They really are. And they're confident for a reason. We'll see what that reason's going to be.